Well, this is a very, very special little extra video for the week. I'll probably put this out on Sunday is what I'm shooting for. Hopefully. Anyways, I've decided after getting a phone call and getting booked, well, not completely booked, but there's interest in me doing client work for real estate. And then I realized that my Garmin Virb 360, which is what this footage is currently on, is not going to cut it for professional use. This is great for what I've been doing on YouTube, but I absolutely need the best prosumer level camera without breaking the bank. Breaking the bank, obviously, you could spend $1,500, I think, is the cheapest fully pro camera, and you're talking like rigs with like basically 5, 6, 8 built-in cameras. I can't afford that, and plus I don't make enough money with 360 to justify that. However, what I can do is sell this motherfucker and upgrade to the new GoPro Fusion, which I am currently now on my way to get. What I really like about what I've seen of the Fusion, I've watched a lot of online footage to make sure, is that you can use it to film your overcapture, they call it, to film your entire surroundings, much like I've been experimenting with this camera. But when you zoom in to 1080p, it's a little shitty on this camera. But from what I was seeing online, it is good enough. I mean, it's not the perfect 1080p, but it is definitely watchable. There's like some minor blemishes here and there from what I could spot, but you can, that's if you're zoomed in as far as, 1080p goes. You can zoom out and get more crisp, higher resolution. And also, I'm kind of liking the photos I'm seeing that the fucking thing takes. So, there's that. But I want to add 360 to my workflow as a result. However, I don't want, because I know a lot of you take shits on the 360 video. Like, well, I have to swipe around and shit and look around at our phone. Well, that's fine. I understand. And I know that these videos are not going to be my bread and butter. And I don't want them to take away from the Monday through Friday videos. So if I do a 360 video, it'll be extra. It'll be bonus, and it'll be done on the weekend, on my free time, so to speak. And, if you guys start liking it and you want more of them, more of the vlogs, more 360 adventures, then I'll make more. But for now, I know that there's not a wide audience that enjoys swiping around or looking around on their phone, and there's even less people that are willing to put fucking goggles on and have a completely immersive Scott the Truck Driver experience. I myself do enjoy throwing my goggles on my phone, which is the Galaxy S8. Plus, and looking around my environment with the VR goggles on. And it's nice to relive some of the places I've been to. So from a personal standpoint, I need to use the 360 a little bit more for my own personal shit. But I know that you guys are always wanting more content. No matter what it is, it seems lately. If I do an adventure video, you guys are like, yes. If I do a fasting video, yes. If you do keto, yes. Except some of you take a shit on keto. Minimalism, yes. You guys seem very happy with what I've been doing. I'm a little, adventure videos are fun. It's recreation for me. I don't consider taking my drone out to like Chittenango Falls and doing all of that bullshit to be actual fucking work. I do put a lot of post-production work into shit like that, but I enjoy it because it's more creative than the talking head videos. The talking head videos are about sharing knowledge and talking about different topics and that kind of stuff, and I know that's what you guys are here for mainly. But there is a growing number of you that are happy with whatever I produce, as long as I'm producing. And that's fine. There's some of you, even my biggest sponsor, Dave in MSP, says he doesn't give a fuck what I do as long as I grow the channel. He said I could do 2 videos a week and he'd be fine. But I know that there's another section of my subscribers that want me to literally put out something every day if I can. I'm not going to commit to 7 days a week, ever. That would defeat the purpose of me coming out of trucking. I don't want to work all the time. I'm streamlining my workflow as it is just to try to get down to 40 hours a week and still provide you guys with a level of content. That's what the fucking the smaller videos are about. But anyways, I'm droning on a little bit, except I don't have my fucking drone with me right now, which I should carry with me at all times because you never know when you need a fucking drone. So I'm happen to go on a little journey in and of itself just to get this fucking GoPro because most of the Best Buys in town don't have it. Amazon does not sell it yet. It can only be purchased directly from GoPro, which I'm not patient enough for at the moment. And I checked, and the place I'm going now I think has 2 or 3 of them, and it's like a little further away than the closest Best Buy. You know, I'm not a big, huge fan. I go to Best Buy for a lot of things if I can find them there. I hate it when I go there to get something and they should have it, but they don't, and they want you to order it through them. I'm like, no, if it's coming, I have a Prime membership, I'll use that. The reason I go to a walk-in physical store is to be able to get the product and also easily return the product if I'm not fucking happy with it. And that's the only reason I still shop at Best Buy, to be honest with you, is they have a decent enough return policy that if I buy something from them, I can fucking bring it back if I'm not happy or if it doesn't work and shit. And, you know, when I'm doing a purchase like this, I like to have that to where I don't have to ship it and wait and go through this whole big fucking process if I'm not happy with it. Tons of research and staring at fucking footage. The GoPro Fusion looks like the winner, but there's an off chance that when I fucking pick it up, I'm gonna not be happy with something about it. I don't know. We'll see. I already own this Virb, so if it doesn't perform well, it has to outperform the Virb for me to keep it. One of these cameras is going. I'm not going to keep both of them. I am a minimalist still, and I've been eyeing getting rid of the Virb for a while just because I'm not happy with the video quality. That's the biggest thing, is the fucking video quality when you zoom in or when you watch the 360 video is meh. Even at 5K, it's still a little bit. It should be a hell of a lot sharper at 5K than it is, because I've checked the 5K footage. I've filmed in 5K. This is filmed in 5K. Probably, I'm gonna try and upload this video to YouTube in 5K, which many people can't watch. So if you're having trouble watching this, you need to down-res it within your YouTube app. But for the most part, when I watch it at home at 5K, or, you know, I have a 5K capable system so I can watch these videos online as well, I should see the sharpness, you know. And GoPro, I believe, has better optics. From what I've seen online, I don't know, I have to see it for myself. But I do believe they put better lenses and a better sensor or something, some kind of processing that goes on there that makes it look a lot sharper. What the fuck, motherfucker? There's a stop sign. I don't have a stop sign. Eat dicks. This is why I had to quit driving for a living and shit. So there it is. The GoPro Fusion 360 and shit. It's the last one in Syracuse. So there's that. Why won't you open, you motherfucking bitch? Oh my god, it's not too big. I thought it looked bigger. But there it is. It's hand-sized and shit. Feel kind of weird doing this in a parking lot, but I suppose I should get used to filming on the road. But there it is. I do know you have to protect this fucking thing whenever you're not using it because of the wonderful fucking lenses that are sticking out on each side. So what do we get? What else we get with this motherfucker? Well, obviously the first thing I need to do is put it inside its little case. I'm not ready to fire it up yet. I have to charge it and do all that shit. The big ass fucking battery. Only got one of these right now. I'll have to buy more of those. Monopod selfie stick thingy. It's pretty, it's got very grippy grip and shit. It telescopes, which is useful. Does it lock? Okay, it does lock. Some pretty big fucking sticky mounts, which is interesting. I'll have to figure out where to stick these. And of course the charging cable. So really not much to this. That's all the shit that you get when you open the box. So now I'm gonna take this motherfucker home, charge it up, and then we'll go out and test it. Well, I got it all set up, and I'm going to drive a little bit and give you my first impressions of the GoPro Fusion. This is the first outside I've been shooting. As you can see, this is low light. I figured since it's fucking getting dark out, this is about as low light as it was when I went to Chittenango Falls and shot with the other 360 camera. It's about the same time of day. But overall, it's looking pretty fucking spectacular in the preview on the phone. However, I am noting some issues that I hope get patched up. I know GoPro's been going through some rough times with some shady business practices, with some fucking fucked up corporate structure, from releasing a shitty Karma drone, from overpricing shit and selling it to people. I understand all of that. In fact, they probably overpriced this very camera. However, if this camera does its job properly, I'm fine with the price tag that I paid for it. Because I know I can earn back the money, you know, the investment of this camera. Most of the gear I buy pays for itself over time in regards to I use it for business for the most part. In any case, the first thing I noted was the software. It's fucking in an infantile state. It's pretty much where the Garmin Virb was when it first launched. The Garmin Virb has since updated their software, and it's a lot easier, I would say, to process video, but the processed video kind of looks like shit quite a bit. And, you know, overall, meh. There's a lot of other issues I have with the Garmin Virb. It gets the job done in a more basic fashion. It's good enough for, you know. So, as you can see, that video just cut out. The reason is because this thing is buggy as fuck. I don't even know if they can fix it with firmware, but on the reliability department, it's failing me a little bit. So here's the deal. Here's some things I noticed, some bugs, so to speak. I'm gonna leave the light off because it's, you know, you can just listen to me talk and look at traffic or some shit. But the first bug that came up was it didn't power on. And I had to reseat the battery multiple times until it finally gave me a little blinking red light, and which let me know that it was ready to power up. I also noticed that occasionally it locks up while recording, despite me having super fast fucking SD cards in it that, and it does take 2 SD cards that work properly in every other fucking camera I have that shoots 4K and 5K. Same, you know, same cards work fine in the Virb. So I can't imagine it's the cards causing an issue, but every once in a while it locks up and I have to, and I can't reboot it. I can't hit a button and turn it off and turn it on. I have to literally do a fucking battery pull to reset the whole fucking thing. So these are a couple of issues I have with this camera so far, and I'm strongly considering returning it just for that. if it continues over the next couple days of testing, I'm going to take it back and wait for them to work out the bugs, because I'm not going to pay this amount of money and spend this amount of work and effort to pay for this camera if it's a buggy piece of shit. Another issue I had is trying to hook it up directly to the very, very infantile software, which really performs some basic functions. Now, I'm not too concerned with that as long as I can get my footage stitched, which it does do. It doesn't do it straight from the camera. I have to copy the files manually, because for some reason it deletes one of the SD card's data when I try processing the files directly from the camera, which would be an ease of use thing that a normal average motherfucker would, want, and probably would not be able to figure out all the other shit. But for someone like me, I'm pretty technical, so I can, I went in, I got all the files necessary. I've watched a bunch of tutorials, that helps too. And got it to work, and it's working fine. As far as the stitching goes, the software, it's pretty good at encoding a good, editable file. You can output to high res, 150 megabit, ProRes, Cineform type shit, which I know is technical. A lot of you probably don't give a shit about that. But in case you're wondering, I'm going to Five Guys here to get a couple burgers with no buns. That's a quick and easy dinner for me. It's a long process. I know how to process the videos. I use Adobe Premiere, so I'm not worried about that. I did a little video test already. The footage looks better than the Virb. I give it that. I still have more tests to run. I still have to look into, stabilization. Can I walk and talk to it? Is a good vlogging format? Stuff like that. Stuff that needs to be tested over the next couple days. And I want to take pictures with it, obviously, because the reason I upgraded, or at least I think I upgraded, is I want better picture and video quality if I have any more professional work to do other than YouTube. I mean, YouTube, you guys don't really seem to care as much about the visual quality of shit. You just want content. So, there's that. Good content, not just content. So far, I'm on the fence because of the bugs. If I'm having a hard time, like I had a hard time connecting to the app as well. The app is buggy, the software is buggy, and the camera itself is buggy because of the lockups, the having to do battery pulls. I mean, battery pulls? Really, GoPro, for a fucking $700 camera? You're gonna make me pull out the battery every time it fucks up? You couldn't program in some hard reset or hard power off? Really? Just saying. So I'm a little bit iffy. It's working fine right now. But I had to do a battery pull just to get this vlog finished, which sucks. So that's the conclusion so far. We'll see. I'm going to put it side by side with the Virb shit. I'm going to do a side by side comparison, probably in better light tomorrow. Hopefully the sun comes out to visit us. And we'll go from there. That's where I'm at, though, so far. So here we are in a better lighting situation. I'm sitting here, I'm editing the footage. First I'm going to do a VR version of this video and test it, and then I'm going to do a over capture where I pick the framing and zoom in and zoom out and tiny planet and all of that horse shit. There'll be two separate videos to kind of test the footage out. But one thing I do want to say is being able to edit in pretty much an almost raw format is very work intensive, very demanding in render times. I could easily burn at least an hour and a half rendering short clips, under 8 minutes or so clips of footage. And so it's time consuming. You're going to burn a lot of time fucking with a 360 video from this camera. the same thing with the Virb. The Virb also takes a significant amount of time when you shoot 5K. I haven't tested out 4K because quite frankly, I want the highest quality raw footage out of this camera. I don't want it compressing it for me. I don't think GoPro compresses it in the camera, so you're still going to go through this this kind of process whenever you take your footage out. By the way, this is my whole room that you can now see in 360 for the very first time on my fucking channel and shit. This is daylight on that same fucking road I was driving on yesterday. And I only got a couple hours of daylight left, but as you can see, there's still no motherfucking sunlight here. It's like the sun's gone and shit, which sucks hairy nuts. This is pretty much the same level of light from the footage in the beginning with the Virb. Some things I noticed after a few more experiments I did is the photo quality is quite exceptional as far as resolution. I uploaded a photo to Facebook. I've put on my VR goggles, which by the way is the ultimate test of a 360 camera, is how shitty it looks when you're in VR, because you are only seeing a small portion of the image. And see, if you're watching it through your cell phone, you know, YouTube has a pretty wide angle and gets a lot of the resolution into the frame, whereas if you put the headset on, it's like zooming all the way into a small portion to give you that immersive experience. I did find that the GoPro was like fucking 20 times better at doing that than it was than the Virb 360 was, as far as the experience when you put on the VR goggles. It's pretty much was tolerable enough to do a lot of consumption of VR that way. However, I know that most people don't watch footage that way. It's, you know, even though it's real easy to get one with your phone, not a lot of people have a phone that does it. It's just kind of, it has not taken off yet, despite attempts to make it, you know, easy with stuff like Google Cardboard, which you can literally pay $10 for and view shit with your phone that way. It's just still, it's too much shit that people want to do. People want to sit on their ass and they don't want to touch shit. And they don't want to fucking move the shit around. And I know there's going to be at least one comment in this particular video: I hate 360, don't shoot 360. Like I said before, this will be like occasional or on my time, as in like on my days off or whenever I want to fuck with it. And you guys will get a little extra content out of the deal, with the caveat that you're going to have to fucking just realize that this is the place where we lost 3 people to a drunk driver yesterday. That corner, which I drive by regularly, we had 3 students that were killed by a hit-and-run drunk driver, and that's been kind of the news in Syracuse. But anyways, without becoming a complete downer, back to, you're not watching this for that kind of shit. It's clear to me that this shit, they rolled it out the door. It's not finished. However, once I was able to get the footage done, after a couple more indoor experiments and some well-lit experiments, the footage out of this camera is superior to any other 360 camera I've ever owned. This will be my 4th 360 camera. Because I like the idea, I like the concept of capturing everything around me, and I was kind of doing a little bit of over capture before it became over capture. When I first got my first gear, I experimented with that, with editing a video, but the resolution was just so shitty. Like if you go back to when I was riding a skateboard, or I think it was, or some shit, or a boosted board, that video, I used the Virb 360 to over capture, before they put it in their software as well. I actually did it in Premiere on my own, and with a bunch of guessing and a whole lot of fucking around. But now it's like this big advertised fucking feature that, oh, by the way, is not available yet for GoPro Fusion. They have said it's coming. They have said it's on its way. It's not here yet. If you look over here, something's going on. I wonder what the fuck that's all about. A lot of cops and shit. So you may be asking, why are you keeping this camera if it's a piece of shit? Well, it's the footage. I just can't get over how good the footage is for 360. I mean, it's not comparable directly against like a regular GoPro or any of my DSLRs or my AX53 or any of my, 2D cameras. It's not going to outshine those. But for the purposes of setting a camera down and filming everything around me from sometimes weird or fucked up angles while stabilized, making for some good run and gun action that might not even require any gimbal whatsoever. That's small in form factor, the sound's okay enough. And I can just set it down. Like, in an example of what is in my drone video that I just did, I set this down to capture the launch, and it ended up noticing in post that somebody was taking my picture and filming me and all kinds of shit. Are you gonna go or am I gonna go? Are you gonna go or I'm gonna go? All right. And it's being able to get through all of that, to be able to have the footage, for it to not miss a fucking thing. And it really isn't. You can set it down in a decent spot that's, right for you, for what you want to capture, or where you think you're going to need to be to capture. And you will literally be able to get everything that's going on. And then in post, turn it into a 2D video that is good enough with 1080p resolution to be integrated with all the other footage that you will get. Gotta wash my fucking car because of the Uber and shit. So I'm gonna take this fucking camera to Skinny Atlas, which is a nice little town. I'm gonna take it out on the pier and maybe even fly my drone while I'm there, since I'm there, and then I have a place to be after that. So, killing all kinds of birds with stones and shit. Shh, don't tell the vegans. I hate that. It doesn't shift to neutral really quick. I'm always afraid I'm going to hit the car in front of me. Yay, now we get a complete low light adjustment test. I have the ISO currently set at 400. It's the limit. That's something that I notice a lot of other reviewers and test footage motherfuckers, they post this low light video with 6400 ISO, which is very noisy, unwatchable shit. If your light's low, let it be low. Let the bright areas shine and the dark areas fall to darkness. I have also found that compared to the Virb, that the dynamic range on this camera is improved. It's better. I can capture the whole scene without completely blowing out the sky. It does a good job of, if one lens is brighter than the other, whereas the Virb will expose the entire motherfucking... Well, actually, I gotta take that back. They did add a software update on the app that allows you to ramp the exposure up for one camera or another. However, they're not independent. So if you choose to expose for like the front camera, then the back camera is going to blow out. And so that's the difference with the Virb, whereas the GoPro seems to do it automatically and make it so that you're exposed properly for each individual camera on a separate level, which is awesome. I mean, it does create a stitch line, but I like that I can capture, you know, the darker side, which is in this car, versus all the other bullshit. Thank you. Have a good night. Yeah, if I have them dry, I always tip. Just because I know what it feels like as an Uber driver for motherfuckers to not tip. It's the walking test and shit for vlogging. Testing stabilization, so on and so forth. Seeing how this fucking thing does. It's still pretty low light. I still need to get this out on a sunny day.
How you doing?
Doing alright.
What is that thing?
It's a 360 camera.
A what?
360 camera?
A 360 camera.
That captures everything.
Oh, yeah.
Testing it out.
Did you get my picture?
You're probably on here, yeah.
Okay. I am the mayor, you know.
Oh, you're the mayor?
Well, these guys think I am.
The mayor of Girl Hill Road.
Now, here's an example of the photo quality. Keep in mind this is a lower light situation. However, I was really particularly struck by how deeply you can see into the water, how it on complete auto exposure settings was able to get most of the sky. I mean, it pretty much, it's like the auto capture settings have decided, you know, where the most appropriate places are to raise exposure and lower exposure. And it does clip a little bit in the brighter areas of the sky. However, one flaw I'm kind of noting, but I can live with because I like the fact that it balances the exposure the way it does, is around the seam line you can see a difference in the exposure settings for the fucking cameras, or for the front camera and the back camera. But it blends it fairly well. Like, you'd have to be kind of looking for it to really give a shit about it. It's noticeable when the camera's moving around a lot, as far as, you know, in 3D space. Like, if you're just walking and you're not going up and down and that kind of stuff, you can't notice the seam line as much. Or if the camera's stationary, you probably won't even notice it. But I'll take that over, like, off-centered fucking seam lines and overexposed entire scenes or underexposed entire scenes. I can play a lot with this file if I need to get it a little bit better blended, but you know, especially if for photographs, I can do a lot. The other issue with photos is the motherfucking raw files are not stitched. If you want to edit the raw files, you have to do so before you stitch them in the software, which isn't a deal breaker for me because you can kind of zoom in and get a good idea of, you know, your settings. As far as filters go, those would have to be put in after the stitch process, but for the most part, if you want to get the exposure, the white balance, the color correction, all of that in post with the raw files, you have to go into the files, you know, manually, and for both cameras, the front and the back, before they're stitched, and do your raw edits there, and then bake them in, and then stitch from there. Might require a third-party stitching program. I haven't really tested this out yet. I just know that I can find the raw files, but the raw files are unstitched. After you put them through GoPro's fucking software, they are officially JPEGs at that point, or TIFFs. Now, TIFFs, you don't seem to lose a lot of information. As you know, I've been working with TIFFs a long time. And you do retain most of the data from the raw file, so you can make significant edits. However, I haven't really thoroughly tested the TIFFs that the GoPro Fusion software puts out. So overall, the picture quality, as far as sharpness and things you can do, and you know, you can do tiny planets, wide angles, you can change the angles around. But for capturing a good 360 video, i.e. if I'm going to use this professionally for real estate and that kind of stuff, or weddings or other events, I would be fine, you know, after I edit and post-process, giving one of these pictures to a client. You know, commercially, this would be a good camera for 360 photos for clients that want them. So that's my conclusion on the photo portion. Now, this is the part that made me the most excited about the fucking GoPro. All right. You see, when you put it on the end of this fucking selfie stick that I bought at fucking Walmart for $20, and if you angle it just right on something that's low profile and long like this, you can effectively make it look like, I mean, obviously I'm holding something, but it's not like taking up a whole lot of the frame. I didn't have the angle quite right, but I do know from a couple other experiments that I was able to get the pole to disappear, thereby just having like a floating 360 camera that I could move around, you know, as if I was steering it with a remote control, and capture me from different angles. Now, this is going to be pivotal for future adventure videos for me because it's completely stabilized. I can come in and use the over capture feature. This is something that I can't do with the phone. I can't do with, you know, obviously the drone would be too much to set up, though the drone will be used for some longer, wider, further away aerial shots and stuff like that. But when I'm filming adventures, I'm going to rely pretty heavily on the ability to use this camera in this way. You know, if you're watching the 360 version of the video, you know, it also adds immersion that way as well, except you get to look where you want. So as far as, you know, how I shoot future adventures, I think this is going to be kind of a game changer for me because I really like the perspective. Yes, I understand this is not a very well lit day, and I understand that the video quality isn't completely there, but the immersion for me, that, you know, the being able to get that shot as easily as I was by myself
That will trigger the vegans. I don't know what
is
will.
worth it, for me. Just that right there made this camera, and it allows me to live with all the other shortcomings of this fucking camera.